الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بك من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال عز وجل في الكتاب المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. We praise Allah Azza wa Jalla. We seek His guidance. We seek His forgiveness. We seek His blessings. We seek all that which is pleasing to Allah, our Lord, our Rabb. And we ask on this day that He protect us and the deceased from hellfire. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He guide us to the words that pleases Him, to the actions that pleases Him, to the hearts that remember Him day and night, to be people of Allah, to be the people of dhikr. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. I remind you and myself this day that we have gathered together to remember one, the only one who matters in our lives as a believer, the highest priority. And when we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, it's bigger than me and you, my brothers and sisters. It's bigger than me and you. Allah, I bear witness that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah. You have given your pledge and allegiance to Allah. And what is this pledge for? وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. That I recognize and I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of God and His servant. And He came to guide us to the right path, to remind us of the right things, and to avoid evil and bad things. And this is the way of people of Allah. So He came to guide us, to make us amongst people of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So He, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would remind people in His khutbah al-Jummah, "O you who believe, O people of faith, be people of taqwa. Ittaqullah. Be on guard, be vigilant about your relationship with Allah. Don't do things that would displease Allah. Be vigilant with your relationship with Allah. Haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum. As you are well aware how you should be people of taqwa. And don't let a time come when death comes to you except that you have submitted to Allah, except that you have submitted to Allah Azza wa Jalla, that you have become a Muslim. And so we today ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be people of Islam, people of taqwa, people of ihsan, and to be Muslim every day, inshallah, with our speech, with our talk, with our actions, and also with our hearts as well. I want to talk briefly, inshallah, very few minutes, about principles of a happy life, focusing mostly, inshallah, on our relationship within our household. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us and He gives us a dua to start with, inshallah, the khutbah. And this is the dua all of us should memorize, seeking the happiness, coolness of our eyes in our families. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. O our Lord, make from our spouses and our children coolness of our eyes. Coolness of our eyes. وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Make us the righteous predecessors to the people of taqwa. Righteous predecessors. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us about our relationship. And He gives us principles and He warns us about this path that we take. A married life. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن من أزواجكم وأولادكم عدوا لكم فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ. He says, O people who believe, surely amongst your spouses, husband to wife and wife to husband sometimes, وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ, and your children, there amongst them are enemies sometimes to you. Some of them, sometimes. Why? Because they distract you from the dhikr of Allah. فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ, be on guard, be vigilant, be watchful. So how do you respond to them when certain things happen in life? وَإِن تَعْفُوا, number 1 rule. وَتَصْفَحُوا, number 2. وَتَغْفِرُوا, rule number 3. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So how should we relate to them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the discipline, how to approach family life. And so if you find that to be the case, then ta'afu, pardon them. Pardon them. There are things that happen you don't even talk about, because they're small things. We don't have to bring them up. We don't have to go into details about certain things. It's okay. It was a mistake. It was not intentional. We don't bring it up all the time. وَإِن تَعْفُوا, pardon. The second one, وَتَصْفَحُوا. Tasfahu, from the word safha, a leaf. It always, right, goes back and forth. Safha, when you're reading Quran, there's a leaf, right? You turn the page. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, turn the page. Overlook. Sometimes you see something displeasing, but you just kind of, let's talk about the weather today, right? Or you say, yesterday's food was great. Maybe not today's, but yesterday was great. Chicken and biryani or whatever. But tasfahu, you overlook those little things. You start talking about other things. Why? Because you are interested in what Allah has promised. And the rule number 3, and then what we will talk about what Allah has promised. وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا. And if you forgive, forgiveness. Sometimes there are big things that are wrong, bad things that are wrong, and your rights are taken away from you. But in a healthy, beautiful relationship, which is based on love, you're willing to sacrifice. You're willing to go the distance, the extra mile. You're willing to do anything for your children, for your spouse. Why? Because you love them, and that's what it's based on. وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا. The 3 rules Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us about family life. And if you do that, what's promised to you? فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Surely Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. Isn't that what you're looking for? Isn't that what you're looking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And so this is how we establish our lives with each other. And it all starts with the family unit, brothers and sisters. Why? Because we are role models to those children who are growing up in our house. They're watching us. We're role models to them. And so they see how mom and dad, how they, when the conflict comes, how they resolve these issues, how they manage things. There will always be conflict. When 2 people live together, there will be conflicts. George Bernard Shaw, he said, one wants to have the window shut and the other one wants it open at nighttime. You don't think conflict's going to happen? That is the nature of life. That is the test. And so we recognize that. And I want to share, so one night I shared with you, I want to share with you one hadith. Please pay close attention to it. And I'll give you the English translation, inshallah. The Prophet ﷺ, he gave 3 guarantees or 3 promises. Right? This is the Prophet of God. No doubt about it. He said, I promise a house in paradise. So this is what we're talking about, right? This is what we're all aiming for. I promise a house in paradise for one who gives up arguing, even if he's in the right. You're right. No. Let me tell you about... No. I think you have it wrong. Let me explain this to you. Did you just say... No. The Prophet ﷺ said, even if you're right, you're right, Stop arguing. That's what the Messenger of God ﷺ is saying, teaching us. Number 2, and I promise a house in the middle of paradise. So it's a little sweeter now. For one who abandons lying even for the sake of fun. Trying to make somebody laugh and you're telling things that are not true. And then the third promise that he makes, I promise a house in the highest part of paradise for one who has good manners. For one who has good manners. And manners starts at home. That's where they start. They don't start somewhere out there where you say, oh, thank you, have a nice day. Right? People are paid to say that. Thank you, come again. Thank you, shop again. Right? The manners are when you're tested with patience. Is that how we respond? Or do we just simply let it out? So, inshallah, I remind you and myself of this great blessings of Islam that we have. It guides us to the straight path. Our Prophet, our book, Al-Quran, the Holy Book, brings us back to that which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to share a little anecdote, a small story about this woman. She had a baby or a girl in a cart, and she's trying to shop grocery store, and the kid's throwing tantrum. You know, you could see like, she's all over this girl, and she does not want to calm down. And the mom, like everybody's watching, and it's a big scene, right? It's a big scene, and the kid's crying, you could imagine. And the mom's, obviously she's embarrassed, and then she's saying, Sarah, relax, Sarah, be patient. Sarah, be patient, be careful, Sarah, be careful. Sarah, be quiet, be patient. So she does that 10 minutes, and this guy is watching, and then he's like, how remarkable is motherhood, that you're patient through all of this. So at the end of the checkout aisle, this guy goes to this lady and she goes, I'm amazed how Sarah is bothering you and throwing tantrums, and you are so patient with her. And the mother says, oh, thank you so much for the compliment, but my name is Sarah. I'm trying to be patient, I'm trying to be calm, I'm trying to teach myself to relax, to be forgiving, to be compassionate. It all starts with me, not with my child. So before we start telling our spouses and our children how to be the coolest of our eyes, let us become the coolest of their eyes, so that we please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost, and we find a place high enough, inshallah, in paradise. وَأَقُولُ قَوْلِي هَذَا وَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ وَلِسَائِرِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله والحمد لله الحمد لله على كل حال وأعوذ بالله من حال أهل النار. The 5 principles, inshallah, I will share with you very shortly. First and foremost, to be the coolest of their eyes, inshallah. What we have to start with, obviously, as believers, be a person of taqwa and ihsan. That's what constitutes a person of Allah. Every time the Prophet ﷺ gave khutbah to nikah, I want you to go back and read it, the translation of it or the Arabic part. How many times he mentioned the word taqwa? Be people of taqwa. Be on guard, vigilant about your relationship with Allah first, because that relationship in this life is based on that. It will strengthen your relationship in this life. To be a person of ihsan, excellence, go beyond, forgiving, generous, compassionate, patient. Be one of those people. And we're going to struggle. That's not the idea that we're not going to fail. We're not going to sometimes not be successful. But if we aim for the right spot, if we aim for the right place, inshallah, with the help of Allah, we'll arrive there. And that's what happens, brothers and sisters. None of our actions are going to be sufficient on the day of judgment. It's with the mercy of Allah. It's with the mercy of Allah. That's how we arrive, inshallah. So I remind you about being person of ihsan and taqwa. Rule number 2, teach manners with manners. Teach manners with manners. We tend to have adopted teach manners with a stick, teach manners with a swing, teach manners with something. This is not the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Our Prophet ﷺ was not about this. He always taught manners with manners. So they learned from the greatest example. And I want to give you a story that a rabbi once shared. And he says that he was at a wedding and somebody approached him and he says, "Oh, teacher, how are you doing today? I am so-and-so, you taught me in 3rd grade. And this teacher was amazed and he's like, "Oh, so-and-so." Yeah, he's like, "Yes, my name is so-and-so. And do you recall?" He's like, "Oh, okay, mashallah, what do you do?" And he says, "I'm also a teacher. I was inspired by your example, by your way of dealing with me specifically." And he said, "What was that example? What happened?" And he says, "Once upon a time, I remember, I used to come to school and there was a boy who had a really beautiful watch. And he had put this watch on his desk and I really liked it. So I stole it. I took that watch and I slipped it in my pocket." And so the teacher said, "Oh, did you?" And he says, "You don't remember that story?" It's like, "No." He's like, "Okay, let me tell you about this more. What happened was when I put it in my pocket, you asked, where's the watch? You took the watch." And nobody said, "I took the watch," or anybody claimed it. So you shut the door and says, "Close your eyes and put the watch on the desk. I will not say anything." And the child, because he was scared. He was like, "Now I'm going to be called a thief. Somebody who's going to be, scarred for the rest of his life." And so the boy, he was shaking, but he did not, because out of shame, he did not want to put that watch on top of his desk. So the teacher said, "I'm going to line everybody. And I want everybody," and now this boy is shaking, but he knows what's coming. The watch is in his pocket, and the teacher is going to check. And so he stands in line, and he says, "Oh, teacher, that time you told all of the students to close their eyes. And so I closed my eyes too. And that day, you checked everybody, and then you came to my pockets, and you checked my pockets, you took the watch. But you continued checking everybody else, so people wouldn't know who took the watch. And then you returned the watch, we all opened up. But teacher, you never mentioned that to me. You never mentioned my name to anybody. In fact, the whole year passed and I was so ashamed that you had done this, such a great blessing, such a great manner, such a great way of teaching me. You never shared it with anybody." And he says, "Do you remember this story now?" And the teacher says, "No, my son, I don't." And he said, "You don't remember that story?" And he says, "All I remember from that story is that I did close my eyes when I told everybody to close their eyes. I don't know who it was, but good to see you." So we welcome you to the masjid, to the house of God. We welcome you and we remind you of a legacy that we have of the great Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The children are here, they're watching us, and they want to learn from our examples, the example of the greatest one, the Prophet of God ﷺ. So teach manners with manners. Remember, you are, as a spouse, a libas to your spouse, to your family. You protect them, you comfort them. And then be mindful, 2 things I would mention, inshallah, and I'll end this. Men specifically, learn your partner. Men, there are a couple of things that are on the top of their agenda. You have to know the agenda, right? What's on top of the agenda? Obedience, right? And respect. Those are two big words. Sisters, obedience and respect. Brothers, what's on top of their agenda, right? And you may think about different things, but I will tell you, inshallah, to be loved and to be adorned. That's just the fitrah of people. That's just how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created people. And ask yourself, isn't that the way? So this is what I ask, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the dua. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. And not to mention, I just want to briefly mention this. This is what the Prophet of God, this is a sunnah of marriage, is a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, between mawadda and rahmah, love and mercy. But then there are times when things don't work out. People of Jannah, if you look at the Sahaba, right? They were promised Jannah, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an, but it didn't work out with some of them. And there was something called divorce that happens. And sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a great thing for people who are involved in it. Make dua for these people. Help them out, but don't, be in their business. That is not the way of people. So we have to be mindful. There's nothing wrong if somebody goes through a divorce. It's between them and Allah. So we have to be mindful of that. Our Prophet ﷺ, he married people who were divorced earlier. And this is what we know of the Prophet. He didn't find anything that was wrong with that thing. So we leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا رَبَّنَا عَلَيْكَ تَوَكَّلْنَا وَإِلَيْكَ أَنَبْنَا وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ. We pray for the deceased and their families who are here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive and have mercy on the soul. And may Allah increase the reward for people who are coming here for the prayer. Ameen. Rabbi ighfir warham wa anta khayrul rahimin. Wa sallallahu wa salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa aqimus salah.